This is the brand new Davinci Resolve Micro Color Panel by Blackmagic Design. Now, I'm no colorist and actually have quite limited experience grading with a panel like this. If you want the opinion of some people that are just slightly more experienced on this sort of thing, check out this great video by Team 2 Films. I've linked that down below. But what I'm going to do is cover some of the most asked noob-friendly questions and a bit of an overview about this brand new micro color panel, starting off with what exactly is it? The Davinci Resolve Micro Color Panel is a compact, wireless, color grading panel designed specifically for Davinci Resolve, both free and studio versions, and that also includes the iPad version, which we'll get to in a moment. Oh, and you do need to be on Davinci Resolve 19 to use the micro color panel. It's not compatible with previous versions, which also means the iPad version doesn't quite do exactly what it should do at the moment, but as soon as the iPad version is updated to 19, it will work in exactly the same way. It takes all of the most commonly used controls and functions from the color page and turns them into physical buttons, resettable knobs, trackballs, and these physical rings. DJ. This allows you to work faster and more efficiently on the color page while also giving you much more granular control. Take the trackballs, for example. On the left here, we have lift. In the center, we have gamma, and on the right, we have gain. These correspond to these primary color wheels on the bottom left-hand corner of the color page. Now, we simply adjust the color using the trackball. So if I drag this down and around, you can see the color changing, and we can see the colors changing within the gain area. And if we want to adjust the amplitude or the amount, we use the ring. So we can bring the gain up and down. The same goes for gamma. Color with the trackball, the amount using the ring, and then finally for lift. We can then simply reset any of those using either this reset lift, reset gamma, and reset gain buttons across the top. And just simply doing that immediately is much more fun, much more tactile, and much more precise compared to when using a traditional keyboard and mouse. It also allows you to adjust multiple things at once, which again just gives you that little bit more control. You can bring up the shadows and down the highlights, or the other way around, at the same time. On the left here, we have an offset button. If we give that a click, that will go green, and that will change the functions of our three main trackballs. We now control the offset, which is kind of like the general exposure, with this one over here on the right hand side. So we can bring our offset up and down, and we can change the color using the trackball. And now the wheel on the left hand side adjusts our color temperature, while the one in the center adjusts our tint. We can get back to the standard controls by just ticking offset once again, and now we're back to our lift, gamma, and gain. On the left hand side, we have common buttons for things like copy, paste, undo, redo, delete, and reset. And at the bottom here, we've got our two shift modifier keys, and they allow many of the keys on the actual micro panel itself to perform multiple functions. For example, if we hold shift up and then hit offset, we jump between the color wheels or the log wheels. So if we jump to log wheels, we now have shadows, midtones, and highlights rather than the lift, gamma, and gain. Once again, while in the log, we hit offset, we can now adjust the offset, switch that off, shift up, and offset, and now we're back on the primary color wheels. With a power window activated, we can actually drop one right in using this add window here. Then if we hold shift up, the right trackball and ring now control the size and location of that power window, which just means that you don't need to reach for a keyboard and mouse. Alternatively, if we hold shift down, the same trackball and wheel over on the right hand side now adjusts our transform. So we can change the zoom, we can zoom in and out, and we can change the position. We can hit delete to delete a node, we can undo, we can hit reset to reset the current node, or we can hit shift down and reset to reset all of the nodes on the current clip. You use all of these with your left hand, super quick and easy to do all of those common controls. Also on the left hand side is auto color. Why? Who's buying this panel to use auto color? That seems a bit strange. But anyway, moving on. On the right hand side, we have navigation buttons for jumping between stills, keyframes, nodes, frames, and clips. We've also got play forward, which we can tap multiple times to play faster, play reverse, and of course, stop. Next up, buttons across the top. So we can really quickly grab a still. Let me just reset this node now. Then if I play the still, I can see kind of my before and after. And if I hold still wipe and then use my little wheel over on the right, we can actually adjust the wipe so we can have a quick look at our before and after. And then if we just toggle play still again to get rid of it. In the middle, we've got highlight, viewer, cursor, and select. Viewer just puts us in our full screen viewer, and cursor will then go green, and then we can use our right-hand trackball to move the cursor around our preview window. And lastly, on the right-hand side, we've got add node to add a new node, add window to add a new window, and add keyframe to, of course, add a new keyframe. And last but surely not least, we have the control knobs across the very top. On the left-hand side, these four are dedicated to contrast. We've got lift, gamma, gain, as well as the main contrast. We've got pivot, mid detail, color boost, and shadows in the middle. And on the right-hand side, highlights, saturation, hue, and luma mix. Once again, these all correlate to the same controls you'll see on the color page here. Now, these control knobs are kind of infinite. You can just keep going and going until you reach the actual limitations of that control within Davinci Resolve, and then you can just push them in to reset their respective controls at any point. Micro color panel in a nutshell. So, how does it connect? Well, the micro color panel is designed to work with Mac, Windows, Linux, and the aforementioned iPad. You can connect either by USB Type-C using the Type-C port on the back and the included Type-C cable. You can use your own Type-C cable, or you can use a Type-A to Type-C cable if required. Once connected, it's dead simple. You just open up Davinci Resolve and it should start working. If you click on Help and then go to the Davinci Resolve panels, a separate app will open and you can see the status within there. That will also be how you do any firmware upgrades in the future, and that's also where you can check on the battery level and the charging status of the panel itself. Or alternatively, because it's 2024, this also has Bluetooth, so it can connect wirelessly. Simply hit the button on the back, hold it for like a second or two until the light comes on. That will make it discoverable. Open up your Bluetooth settings, find the micro color panel, connect, and that's about it. Then you need to open up Davinci Resolve and you'll be good to go. Now, it won't actually turn on. You won't see the backlighting appear until you do open Davinci Resolve, which first time you try and connect can be a bit strange because it will connect, but it looks like it's still asleep. It actually opens automatically, turns on, it comes to life when you open up Davinci Resolve. Also worth mentioning, very much like the speed editor, there's no dedicated power button. It should, as mentioned, automatically go to sleep when you exit Resolve, but I have had an instance where I woke up in the morning and I had considerably less battery than when I went to bed. So I personally would love to see a power button, but that's just me. Oh, and also you can connect it even while Resolve is open. Sometimes with the speed editor, once again, you'll connect it up, Resolve's open, it won't actually work until you restart Resolve. This just comes to life straight away, plug it in, even if Resolve is open, and you'll be good to go. You'll also notice at the top, there is a big slot for a tablet, or presumably, realistically, an iPad. You connect via Bluetooth, drop your iPad in, and then you'll be good to go. Now, this is a 12-inch iPad Pro, and as you can see, there's plenty of room either side, so it should be absolutely fine with the newer, slightly bigger 13-inch iPad Pros. Now, I also did try and wedge in this Asus ZenBook Duo, but it didn't fit, which is a shame. However, you can kind of balance it, and it does then sort of work. It's all connected via Bluetooth, but now I've got dual OLEDs and a color grading panel, and it's all small enough to fit into a bag for life. Not bad. Which leads me onto the next one. How micro is it really? Pretty micro, actually, especially compared to some of the other color grading panels within the Blackmagic range. And it's absolutely small and light enough to be considered portable. Weighing in at a little over 1 kilo and measuring just 18 by 36 centimeters and just 4 centimeters deep at its thickest, it's pretty small and it's pretty light. This puts it smaller than the quite chunky editor's keyboard, but bigger than the speed editor. Now, I think it's actually a pretty perfect size for your average desk kind of setup because it's essentially the same width as a standard QWERTY keyboard. So it's a bit tall, a bit thicker, kind of a bit that way. But width-wise, it's the same as your keyboard. So if you've got room for a keyboard, you'll have room for this. Just scoot your keyboard out of the way, dump this down, and off you go. Now, to help keep it lightweight, it is made of plastic, and it does feel like plastic, but it's still quite premium, and it is quite nice. Although the piano black finish will show literally every single fingerprint, smudge, and speck of dust known to man. So just keep that in mind. The buttons feel light to press, but they are tactile, and the backlighting does make them look really nice and make sure they're super visible in pretty much any conditions. The knobs have a really nice weight to them, but the click in to reset is a little mushy for my liking, but it works perfectly. The trackballs, super smooth, and they feel really nicely weighted, as do the rings. However, the balls will rattle a bit if you give it a shake. Moving on, who is it for? It's for anyone, really. Anyone that wants to start learning color grading, or even an established colorist who just wants a slightly more portable solution. It offers a lot of the same functionality of the larger panels, just in a smaller package. But it does only function on the color page. That is all it does. You can't use any of the dials or the wheels on the edit page or Fusion or anywhere else. It is a color grading panel and a color grading panel only. So you do need to be enthusiastic about color grading for it to make sense to you. If you just hop into the color page, add 1 or 2 nodes with some very simple adjustments and then move on, this thing is probably going to be a little bit overkill for you. But if you really want to learn color grading, you're spending a lot of time on the color page and you want to develop your skills and become more efficient, or you just really love it and that whole side of things is super fun, then I would definitely start to consider it because it's a really neat piece of kit. And from my perspective, there was a benefit I didn't expect. Confidence. It made me feel more confident on the color page. Need a new node? You just hit a button. You don't need to think about how you add the node, where are my nodes, right click, add a node. You just hit the one button and off you go. Want to adjust the contrast? You twizzle a knob. Feels like you've made it worse, which is often the case for me. Undo, delete, or reset. Everything is there, it's all easy, it's all super quick to access, and it just allows you to focus on doing the things that you want rather than worrying about how you do the things that you want. Everything is just easy and you boop, and off you go. Boop, boop. For me, there's also less second guessing if you're doing it the right way when there's a very clearly labeled dedicated button telling you this is how you do the thing. Boop, boop. But is it actually easy to use? Yes and no, in equal measures. Having dedicated buttons and the trackballs does make things easier, but it does take quite a lot of time and a fair bit of muscle memory to come in. It feels very different to navigating the color page with a keyboard and mouse, for example, so it just takes some relearning. However, as soon as you get over that hurdle, it is a much better experience. Make an adjustment, smash in a new node, repeat a few times, it's fun, it's quick, jump to the next clip, off you go. It's just more intuitive. Will this instantly make you a colorist? No, it will not. Well, it certainly didn't for me. Anyway, having all of the functions clearly labeled and nicely accessible will make you more efficient and may help you to gain some confidence like it did for me, but you will still need to learn and understand what each of the individual inputs do. However, on the flip side, I'd imagine that once this panel became second nature, once you knew where all of the buttons were and you didn't really have to think about it, then learning the why you're making the changes would become easier because you're no longer having to think about the how to make the changes. And talking of how much is it? Well, the panel is priced at $509 US or £462 at the moment in the UK. Now, that only includes the panel and a few, a cable and that sort of thing. It doesn't come with the Davinci Resolve Studio license. But this is now officially the cheapest color grading panel. And it's not only cheaper than the previous model, it's of course smaller, lighter, and does have some additional features. So if you feel you're going to use it often, it's really going to help you with your workflow and you're really into color, it does seem like pretty good value, even though it doesn't come with that studio license. Should you buy one? Well, honestly, only you can answer that. I have had quite a lot of fun with this. I've enjoyed color grading more using this than when I was trying to use my keyboard and mouse, so I will likely buy one for myself. So as mentioned, if you're keen on color, or you would like to be and are keen to invest in a panel, I do think it's a pretty worthy investment. But again, if you're not doing that much color, probably less so. So I think that pretty much covers everything about this brand new Blackmagic Davinci Resolve Micro Color Panel. Do you want one? Are you keen? Let me know your thoughts and feelings down in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.